totally changed
This
things.
is so good. I'm looking forward to this so much.
Justin, in his hosting debut, has totally revamped the show. And I am a little worried because I am flying blind.
No, man, this is going to be this is good for everybody. I do like the fact that you have to follow my lead through this.
I am totally
like you
just
are
following
dependent
you.
on me, man.
Oh, man.
Worship Connect.
NapNaz at
Noon. All right.
I'm scared.
You glad to be here, Chip?
I am, man.
I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited.
I was excited because I got to come in. You're the host. You prepared the content.
You're following my
your
lead. Yeah.
Now I'm a little worried
That's okay.
because the music's already way off.
I've got you right where I want you.
I know.
So stay tuned because we got some good stuff coming. No, this is going to be a good show. We got a great guest on for today. But before we get going, before we get to the content, I just want to make a public shout out. I'm on my internship, and this has been a year or 9 months of just like learning.
Yeah.
I'm soaking in as much as possible. And I think one of the greatest experience I've had so far is honestly, Chip, getting to know you a little bit.
Oh my.
And I just want to take this time. I just want to get to know you a little bit more during this time.
Here we
and
go.
I want everybody else who's listening and who's watching. This is good for the congregation. I think it's important that everyone gets to know who their pastor is, who is shepherding them, and everything. So, I mean, if it's okay with you, I mean, one of the things that you have told me about, and shout out to Nicole, is just how amazing your wife is.
Yes.
So
that is true.
Yeah, make sure you.
I don't know what's coming next, but you're headed down a good path right now.
So, well, I mean, knowing all of this, I went out and I reached out to your wife.
Now
just
it's going to a bad path.
just to find out a little bit more information. What else is there to know about the famous Chip Bullock? So, in spirit of everybody posting their senior pictures, and in spirit of just reminiscing on the past, and we've been getting to know so many people via Facebook. I wanted to get to know. I wanted to get to know you a little bit more. So I mean, I reached out to Nicole, and I just think, can we throw that up there, Janae? That's you're good. So first and foremost, we got Janae as producer, so this is good. But I just wanted to. This is so good. Can you tell us? Do you remember this picture?
Not watching.
Do you remember this picture?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is this your senior year?
Yeah, it is.
I see a lot of Colby in this picture.
Keegan will appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're now saying it's.
Oh, don't worry. I think we see a little bit of Keegan with this picture, though. Look at that.
Truck,
can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Bomb.
Did you drive that? Was that yours?
That was my '86 S10, tricked out, sport bumper, sport wheels, no fear sticker on the front.
This is something else. I've got to be honest.
That guy too, man.
Is this also senior year? These are senior I'm trying to imagine like you posing for the camera during this time. I mean, that stoic face. Let's see here. We
got to have those in their senior pictures, right?
Yeah.
That
Well,
stoic.
even let's go to this one. Look at that.
Oh my goodness. Keep
yeah.
moving.
There we go. This is. I mean, this is wonderful. I just feel like I feel like we get to know you so much better when we see 18-year-old Chip and your natural. I mean, look 17. At that. That is 17. Class of 96.
Yes.
I mean, you look thrilled.
I guess I was that.
Yeah. I can just imagine.
I didn't
like
smile
your parents.
much then, I guess.
Apparently not. But with all of that being said, there is one picture of you smiling, and so I asked your wife. I asked Nicole. Can you tell me a bit about how Chip pursued you? You like to bring up my singleness, and I asked for like, hey, how did Chip go about pursuing you? And you tell me about how amazing she is, and she responded back to me, and she's like, well, he was the dean of men of the school at that time,
I know where this is going.
And he approached me in a real serious way saying, we need to talk. So I'm trying to figure out exactly, I mean, did you scare
I guess I did.
Did you
I
scare
didn't
her
mean
into...
I did not mean to at all.
And lo and behold, you must have approached her. It's like, we need to talk. And he has done this to me many times during the internship. We need to talk. And he brings me into the office, and I think, oh boy, what has gone wrong? And then it's something, he wants to show me a video on YouTube. And apparently this was your way of asking Nicole out on a date. Hey, we need to talk. I'm the dean of men. And
I did not say that.
I'm just giving
I just
it
said,
context.
hey, can we talk?
Yep. So anyways, here is a picture of the young couple. I mean, there's a smile.
Yeah, oh
you
yeah.
really
I
look
did
happy in
smile
this
a lot,
picture.
actually. I was a jokester all through high school. Practical jokes, pranks. I guess just for senior pictures, I thought I had to.
You had to be stuck. That mean tough guy.
That's right.
I'm still trying to figure out how you got her to say yes to you.
I know.
That's what I'm trying to figure out at this point
amazing.
in time.
Yeah, that's a Longhorn Steakhouse. I actually had driven to the Iowa-Michigan game at the Big House at noon, where my Iowa Hawkeyes thumped the Michigan Wolverines that day, and I drove back to Cincinnati. Got there about 6 o'clock, 6:30, and we went to dinner that evening. That
Wow. So where was this at the very beginning of your relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been like last of October. We started dating 1st of October.
Okay. All right.
Probably well within the first 5 dates.
Man.
That's an initial picture.
See, isn't this so liberating? We as a congregation, we as a community get to know more about our pastor.
I don't think it's liberating.
I felt so rewarded when I saw these pictures yesterday. I thought I had just hit the gold mine, man.
You know, I have videos of you. I have stuff. I just hold it back to the
Yeah, I don't hold back.
Oh man, I did not see that coming.
Well,
that took me down memory road.
This was good. This was good.
My truck, dating Nicole.
Yeah,
those are good memories.
Yeah. I mean, as an intern, this was. I feel like I've learned so much about you.
I'm glad. And
now even more. But Nicole, I will say this much. I've heard so many great things about you over the course of this internship.
That's
so
true.
I will vouch.
Legit.
I will vouch for him in that way.
That's
so.
right. Again, we do. We definitely feel for our seniors.
Absolutely.
But then it's really been cool to see everything that's going on, like the Adopt a Senior thing in Napoleon. It's just amazing. And again, people taking a unfortunate circumstance, and doing something
and doing what they can with it,
memorable.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this: the school never spelled 2020 with the buses when I was a senior in high school. But that was really cool to see. They didn't light the stadium up for when I was a senior in high school. But honestly, and when I was a part of a birthday parade the other day. I tell you what, that was real. I mean, there are things happening right now for students and kids. They'll never forget this time.
Right.
And being a part of that birthday parade, I'll never forget. That was really fun. It was really cool to be a part of that. So, absolutely.
Again, we've talked about this often. We can't help that we're in this. It was none of our choices. We didn't bring it on ourselves. It just, fallen world, fallen conditions, viruses, sicknesses, diseases exist. But what do you do in the middle of that?
Exactly.
And it's been encouraging to see the creativity of people, the resilience of people, and just stuff like this. I mean, every day on my Facebook feed or social media, there's an Adopt a Senior picture in this community. And shout out, props to people who are making the best of a bad situation.
That's so true. That's so true. So going into all of that, like we said before, we got a great guest on today's show. Kind of continue to speak into.
Oh man.
Can you blame me?
That's good.
In my defense,
you got me.
In my defense, Chip looked at me the other day. He's like, "Dude, just take care of the pre-interview stuff. I'll take care of the interview. Just you take care of." So I ran with it.
You did, man.
You gave me the freedom.
You did.
I mean, and I felt like I held up my end of the bargain there.
You did.
So who do we got on the show today?
Who do we have on the show today? Well, we have a familiar face to people from Henry County.
And a familiar voice.
And a very familiar voice.
Yes.
I have told this gentleman on a number of times, I will give you my left pinky
Yeah.
if I can trade you for your voice.
I think every man in Henry County would do that.
I agree. Now, I don't know what he would do with my left pinky, but I definitely know what I would do with his voice.
Yes.
He's on the radio. He is a trusted voice in the agricultural community in Henry County, and just a trusted figure in Henry County
Absolutely.
at large. He's a part of the Henry County Foundation. He does stuff with that. Just a lot of different things that Dusty Sonnenberg is involved in. And on top of that, he is a part of NapNaz. And we love him and Cheryl and Cody and Bailey.
Absolutely.
They're just such a cool part of our church.
Yeah.
It's so encouraging to me to watch their boys.
Yeah.
And just the way their lives, the trajectory of their lives, the walk with the Lord that they have. And so, Dusty, welcome to the show today. Thank you for coming on and being with us.
Well, hey, thanks, guys. It's good to be here. And as I told you before we went on the air, flattery will get you everywhere. So I greatly appreciate all the compliments. Thank you for not making me bring up a senior picture. I'm glad I didn't need to do that. And Chip, I have a new level of respect for you that you thought enough of Nicole to take her to a Longhorn Steakhouse on one of the early dates. That's true class.
Man, that place is fantastic.
Amen.
And I was taking her there, but I enjoyed the steak too. Make no mistake about it. Hey, so Dusty, I wanted you to come on. I feel like a Renaissance man to me is how sometimes I look at you, because I feel like you have a really good handle on our county, especially from an agricultural perspective, but then also how it affects every other sector. Because Henry County is still very much an ag county. It's amazing if you look at the percentage of our county, it's agricultural. And I know with this COVID-19, there has been a disruption in a lot of ways within the ag community, but I think it also impacts us locally in other areas. And I just wanted you to come on, kind of give us a feel for what's going on because of COVID-19, the disruptions, the challenges that our ag community is facing, but then also how that bleeds over into all sectors of our economy. Just give us some perspective, because we know that part of the challenge of this is going to be economic. And we want to bring light to that, because we want to come alongside, support, encourage, and do what we can to help people. And so,
absolutely.
Just share with us for a moment what's going on with COVID-19 and the ag community here and at large.
Sure, no problem. Well, definitely, as you said very well, Henry County is an agricultural community, the largest employer in the county economically, largely because of Campbell Soup Company, and obviously that's a food company and an agricultural industry. But even with everything that goes on with, the production side that we see as we drive across the countryside, and yes, coronavirus, COVID-19 has had a huge impact on everything going on. We see that we've got guys out in the field now. A lot of work around Napoleon got done in the last 2 weeks, and we've got different things going on that we see production starting to happen again. But it is that time of year that, we wonder, where are things going to go long term and big picture. So I think we need to keep in mind that agriculture is still functioning. There's a lot of news going on about maybe shortages. And I think it's important that we clarify that there's not a shortage of food, but maybe there's the bottleneck in some other systems. Hang on, I'm going to make one adjustment here to try and get some background noise. Hold on.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
No problem. This is a real show, man. This is
Well, it is. It is. I saw Mr. Braun scrambling, trying to figure out what all that noise and racket was in the background. But with that said, the analogy that I use when it comes to the food supply that's out there, and that seems to be where most of the buzz has been lately, is initially it was shortages in the dairy case, and then lately it's more shortages in the meat case. We often talk about the sort of the road from the farm to the table and people getting their food. And a good analogy, I think, is that right now that road's under construction. And if you think about major highway systems, Anytime there's road construction, we take multiple lanes and we squeeze all that traffic down to 1 or 2 lanes instead of 4 or 5 lanes. Well, what do we have to do? We have to slow the process down, and we get a backup on the front side of that. And that's really a good description of where we are in the livestock industry, whether it be dairy or the meat side of it. We've got plenty of product coming from our agricultural producers, but unfortunately, due to coronavirus and COVID-19, a lot of the processing infrastructure has had to slow way down. We've either had meat processing plants that have shut down or had to slow down their line speeds because of limited staffing. When it comes to the dairy industry, we had a situation where we had a lot of product that was no longer being utilized in the food service industry. And so the traditional packaging for food service is very different than it is for retail sales. So we had plenty of milk out there, but it wasn't in gallon and half-gallon containers. It was either in the pint-sized containers for school, or it was in the 5 to 10-gallon containers for the restaurant industry. And so just making that logistical switch that you see was necessary. And so that's why there were sort of temporarily shortages, not shortages of supply, but unfortunately shortages within the processing and logistics change. Now that's sort of on the, I guess, the short view of why do we see what we see in the grocery store? Why are I was in Chief yesterday and I saw that they've got a limit of 2 packages of beef or pork per customer just to stretch out that supply. Again, it's not a matter of there's not beef and pork out there. It's just with all the packing plants closed down, the way Chief receives that, cuts it, and puts it on the shelves has greatly been slowed down. One of the problems on the ag side is we now have a huge backlog of animals that are building up that are ready for market and need processed, and just not a way to efficiently run those through. Even on the local food side, I sell a lot of local beef, freezer beef, if you will, to folks. And because a lot of folks are now interested in getting locally produced product, there's sort of a over demand shortage of supply because our local processors can only process so much at a time. And so there's a backlog. I know I called the other day, and anybody that's looking right now, you're looking October, November before you can even get an animal in to get processed, just because the demand has exceeded what, is available in terms of the kill space and processing space within those facilities. So it's an interesting time. It's something we don't typically see. Interrelated to all that, though, as you were talking about the economic side, we are an agricultural county, and we may not think of the corn that's out there as a food product because we don't eat field corn. We eat sweet corn. A lot of sweet corn that we eat isn't grown in Henry County. We have popcorn that we eat that's grown here, but the soybeans we eat, or the soybeans rather that are grown, aren't food sources we eat. So we maybe have a little bit of a disconnect locally between crops that are grown and our food supply. Now, we do see the vegetables that are grown, and a lot of those vegetables go into the V7 blend for V8 juice and things at Campbell Soup for the splash. But if we take a look at those commodities right now, we see our corn prices, for example, at almost an all-time low, not all-time low, but very low compared to where a break-even price is. As an example, it takes about $4 a bushel on average for a break-even price for corn. Right now, cash corn the other day was, I think, $2.90 to $3 a bushel. So for every bushel that's being produced, guys are losing a dollar. Now, there's multiple reasons for that. We see that gas prices are lower. The oil industry has had some changes. A big part, I think 40% roughly of our corn market is the ethanol industry. Well, gas isn't selling, so ethanol has really lost its value. So 40% of our corn value has gone right there. Another large part of where our corn goes is livestock feed. Well, again, we're seeing a hit on the livestock side where prices have just crashed. Not as many people are needing as much grain to feed to finish those animals. We've sort of got a backlog there. So again, we're taking a hit. Even within the ethanol industry, the byproducts, the dry distillers grains are typically used as a livestock feed. Those are no longer available. So there's just so many moving parts within the agricultural industry that are interrelated that play into all this. Part of the ethanol industry is production of carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is used to process a number of different foods, and that's no longer available. So we see it on multiple fronts, how all these things are interrelated to our economy. If we look locally, though, I think it's interesting. I look at my farm, and in the last couple of years, we've added a few more livestock barns. So I've worked with Buckeye Building and Holgate Lumber. That's money going directly into the community to pay local workers. You know, if I need plumbing done, I'm going to Kurt's Hardware to get parts, or I'm calling Chrisman Brothers or Donnie Like to come out to do service work. For parts, I'm going to the local Holgate Implement or the John Deere dealership, or I'm calling a local mechanic to come out. All those different things, even from a small business or small farm, there's a lot of local connections. And so you multiply that across the way. I've heard from some of our auto dealerships, you know, a couple years ago, prices were good in agriculture and there were a lot of new pickup trucks on the road.
Yeah.
Recently, the doors have been pretty quiet, not only because of coronavirus, but just the stress felt on the ag industry that money is not circulating back through the economy.
Yeah. So back to like with the dairy and the meat, with the log jam in the middle, with the logistical side, are the small businesses, small farms, because they're not being able to sell as much, do you feel like they'll weather this, or are you super concerned about? I mean, they have the product; they're just not being able to distribute it because of the log jam. I mean, where do you think that's going to go, even a little bit long term?
Yeah. Let me say it this way. Not everybody that's farming today will be farming a year from now.
Wow.
Some of that will be choices for retirement or otherwise. We do have an aging population in the farm sector, but a lot of it will be economic, especially when we look at the dairy industry. You know, there's only so many processing plants for milk. You can't just take milk out of the tank, put it in a bottle, and take it to your local grocery store to try and get your own contract. So just due to the nature of it. And honestly, we've become a very just-in-time food system across the board. We've got small producers, but we've got a lot of more what they call integrated farming operations that have contracts directly with the packers and processors that have contracts directly with the retail outlets. As an example, I heard from one large hog producer was it's 11 months from the time he breeds a pig, breeds the mother basically, till that pig is born, fully raised, and on a grocery store shelf. And that's calculated. So every day they know that I'm breeding these pigs, and 11 months from now,
Wow.
the litters from those pigs are going to be on a grocery store shelf somewhere. So when Smithfield Foods, for example, in South Dakota, cuts off 5% of the pork processing in the country with just one factory due to COVID-19, that's a big issue. That's a huge backlog that we see. So, you know, are all those operations going to be there when we come out of this on the other end? Unfortunately, probably not. The ones that are like any business that are financially sound, that have their, you know, a lot of their assets covered and you know, some good reserves, yeah, they'll come through it. And at the end, they'll probably be stronger because of it. There are some that are very strong now that will probably make it through, but be a little bit weaker. Those that are struggling probably won't necessarily be in business, you know, 12 months from now or 18 months from now, or whenever this does start to resolve itself. Now, again, it's a global economy. So we've got product that shipped all across the globe. They used to say a third of our soybeans produced in Henry County went to China. We've seen everything going on with China and exports and challenges and changes there in the last year or so. A lot of those have found other homes around the globe. But it's a different playing field than it used to be. And so there's a lot of questions out there. I don't mean this at all to be in a negative light. It's just the reality that there's a lot of unknowns and uncertainty. I think we are well positioned in the greater Henry County area, that we have a lot of operations that are financially sound and stable, a lot good management, conservative values, you know, that the guys will tighten their belts and do what it takes to pull through. But again, that's unfortunately still going to have a certain percentage that aren't able to pull through on the other side.
So I think this again brings to light how important it is for communities to support one another in this time. Guys that are struggling a little bit, but always when you buy local, support local, it goes beyond just that person. It creates a community health and an economic sustainability that's important for all of us. Wouldn't you say?
It is. It is. And, I think it's an all the above type answer is what agriculture needs. We're only 2% of the population producing food for the other 98% of the citizens of the country, and ultimately producing for the entire world, as we're a major exporter. And so, yes, for the smaller scale operations, buy local is definitely a positive. But anytime, it doesn't matter if you're buying ARP's milk out of the dairy case at Chiefs, or if you're buying Walmart brand milk out of the dairy case at Walmart. It's all of our local farmers that are selling either through the co-ops that go to the big processors, or that are selling to ARP's Dairy. So every item of food you buy, whether it's a package of bacon or a gallon of milk, while local is good, just the fact that people are buying it and consuming it is all creating demand that helps, because a lot of the outside demand has been reduced.
Sure. As far as what you're feeling at the economic structure beyond even the ag, do you feel like we are going to be looking at a little while of recession, or you feel like we're going to weather this? Because it matters to all of us every day. When things aren't going well, it affects prices. Again, we've talked about the whole chain here of supply and demand affecting us. I mean, I go to the store now and I can only buy 2 packages of meat, or it's a little bit higher because the supply is not as great. Do you feel like this is something that's going to take a while to get back to normal, or is it going to get back to normal, or where are you? We're just kind of asking you because we feel like you have a pretty good feel for it.
Sure. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately,
No,
so I don't have any good answers there. It will get back to a new normal. And, we all scratch our heads and wonder what that new normal is going to look like. I am concerned, obviously not in despair, not overwhelmed, but I am concerned about local businesses, the local economy, if you will. I'm not sure long term, how is this going to work out for the George's Furnitures of the world, small independent family owned retailers, the small restaurants in town, whether it be Hills or some of the locally owned ones. Are they going to be able to weather the storm? They've still got mortgages to pay. They've still got, everything else from taxes on down that occur, whether or not they have a daily regular customer base, whether it's turning tables at a restaurant or turning inventory at a furniture store or a carpet store, or any of those things. One of the strengths of our rural communities are those small family-owned businesses, and while even some of them have been able to stay open under different pretenses as essential businesses, we know that their sales volume is down, and we know that there's a lot of stress that's been put on those. So I am concerned. I know we've got a lot of folks in our community and in our congregation too that have been laid off, and just the struggles that go on with how the whole unemployment program works, and when checks come or don't come, and how that plays off. I serve on the board of directors for Tri-County Rural Electric, and so we've seen how some of the payments have come in, or maybe slowed down coming in from some that are in economic hardships. And so there's just a lot of factors all across the spectrum. I think we will come out of it. My gut feeling is it may just be accelerating the inevitable. In some cases, those businesses and industries, whether it be agricultural or otherwise, that were maybe running a little bit too slim, asset-wise or financially, are probably going to be forced out of business a little bit sooner than maybe would have occurred otherwise. Yeah. Those that are strong and sound, it's going to be tight, but they may come out actually more refined and better on the other side of this when it does come through. So there's going to be a new norm. The landscape's going to look different when we come out of this on the other side, I think, locally and bigger picture. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of it, though. When we look at, as you guys have talked about on this program numerous times before, the positives of slowing down our pace of life, reconnecting with family and friends, and just sort of maybe getting back centered, if you will, to our values and our faith. Some of those things that we just got caught up in the rat race. And if anything, there may be anxiety the other way, that people are going to be a little bit afraid to go back into that rat race again. Hopefully we can create a better new normal when we come out on the other side. But I guess I have to say I appreciate everything that NapNaz has done with the daily morning worship music and this program and the prayer meetings and all the different avenues that have reached out, and multiple churches around the community that have all really explored the different options. I know for me personally, when I'm out working in the barn, I can have it playing in the background and be listening, or if I'm at my desk, sit and sort of watch it at the same time. So it's created multiple opportunities, I think, to be a little bit deeper and intentional in things. And so those are positives that have come out of it. And maybe that some of the stress has forced us to reevaluate some things. And that's not a bad thing. While it's economically challenging, spiritually, maybe it's got some benefits.
I couldn't agree more. That was really well said.
Yeah,
And even for us, some of these practices that we've started in this time, some of them are not going to leave even when we start to meet together. And we figured out that it's meeting people and connecting with people. And so, sure, it's been tough. We'd rather be together.
Yeah.
But hey, we're going to...
It's forced a new reality, forced a new perspective. And I like what you said, Dusty. I mean, it's going to be a new normal.
Yeah.
And this is forcing us into that. And a new normal isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is change that we will have to work through.
Yeah. Hey, Dusty.
One of the verses that I like to go back to a lot of times that's just been a comfort to me is Psalm 46:10, which says, "Be still and know that I am God."
Yeah.
And basically, I guess in my simple definition of that, that's just God saying, relax. I've got this. I've got it under control.
Yeah.
It's real easy for anxiety to overwhelm us at times like this, but he steps in and takes control. And so, that's, I guess, my verse for the day. And the one that I will oftentimes fall back on is, you know what? Just be still. I've got this.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that psalm.
Yeah.
That's a great word for today. Dusty, thank you for coming on and just giving us another perspective on all that's going on, because this is going to affect all of us.
Yeah.
And we care about economies.
Yeah.
We care about those things. I think about the minor prophets, where God was so concerned about the poor and the marginalized. We care. And that's a part of the kingdom, is looking out, how can we come alongside? How can we support? How can we be mindful of people who are now dealing with unemployment and loss of sales and all those things. And so thank you, Dusty, for just helping us once again wrap our mind a little bit better around what's going on and how it's affecting us now and how it might affect us later. And so, hey, you always come through. You are the man.
The voice we know with the news we trust.
There you go.
All right. You guys keep up the good work.
Thanks, Dusty. Have a great day.
Yep.
That's good.
It is.
Again, just helping us once again to understand it better.
That's exactly right.
And to think about it more.
To have that understanding. I mean, it might not necessarily be the most positive or the most, happy news we can receive, but the importance of having that understanding of what the outlook looks like and what we need to do
to help it become a better outcome.
Exactly.
And
it's only through that. It's only through our understanding that we can do that.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted him to come on, because I feel like he could walk through, especially that ag side, but it's bigger than ag.
Right.
But again, bring us and cause our attention to be brought back to the economic pressures and realities right now. We need to be praying about.
Yep.
We need to be mindful of, encouraging, supporting people who are struggling in that way, and doing our part in different ways to support what we can.
Right.
Think community.
Exactly.
Not only ourselves, but our community.
And that's going back to what Dusty had said, a new perspective. It's forced in this new normal of our perspective. We're going to have priorities changes, that new normal. And it's forced us to be intentional with increasing prayer life, increasing community, increasing the intentionality with our families. Yeah. And there is good that's going to come out of this.
I agree. Well, that's what God does. If we allow him to do this work in our life, he takes trials and makes us better. Yeah. And so, just like we've seen, just the kindness of our community, making the seniors, those little things. God, to an exponential way, makes things better.
Yes.
Makes beauty out of ashes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
honestly,
know he's going to do that through this.
And it goes back to his knowing who God is, knowing that he is in the midst of making all things new. He is restoring his creation back to himself. This isn't, God is, he's still God, kind of like what Dusty said, be still for I am God.
He's not on his heels right now.
Right, no.
He's not gotten hit by COVID
Yeah.
and, oh no, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, he's like, all right. He's not like, all right, I hate to use God.
No,
but
no.
He's like, this is going to be used for my glory.
Yeah.
And he's got unlimited resources,
Right.
right? He is the source.
Yeah.
And so, I hope you have taken time today to think about all that this is meant for our lives. But yet, there is a way forward, and we can actually come out of this better.
Yeah. Refined.
Last word, Justin. You're the host.
Hey,
What do you got?
I appreciate you you going along with the fun earlier. It was fun for me to receive
good.
those pictures.
It was fun to go down memory lane.
Yeah, it was
Hey,
good.
Your
It
turn's
was good.
coming.
But anyways, we'll be back for devotions and worship, and we got prayer meeting on Saturday, and then we're back. It's gonna be a new setup for Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday live.
Yeah.
So
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Remember 10 a.m. Not 9, not 10:30, but 10 a.m.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be
All
good.
right.
Well,
Have a good one.